I'm finally debt free after 20 years. So, as the video title and the intro said, today I want to talk about becoming debt free because as of 3 weeks ago, I am debt free and it is such a huge load off my back. I want to share how I got out of debt, how I got into debt in the first place. If you are in a similar position, you're in debt, you want to get out of it, you're not quite sure how, this is not going to be financial advice, but it's going to be telling you what worked for me, and I hope that it'll help some of you as well. So with that, let's get into it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So I grew up poor in Germany, so things like scarcity, food, insecurity, things like that were just very normal. There was no special toys, branded clothes, or anything like that. And of course, I also learned no financial literacy during my upbringing. So I became an adult with basically no idea how to manage money well. So when I finally moved out at 21, I didn't have any money saved up for that. And I needed money for that because, yes, I would have been able to afford the rent and, like things, just everyday expenses. But no furniture, no security deposit, things like that. I didn't know moving costs in itself, just equipping your first household is expensive. So I decided I'm gonna take a small loan that I would pay off in a little bit, and that would be it. I would be finally out of the house. I'd have my first own place. So this started me into a cycle of loans, topping up loans, overdrafting my accounts. At some point, I had a credit card that I never really paid off. And it was just a kind of a never ending cycle. I think in between, like within those 20 years, I had like half a year without debt. And then I got right back into it. So just to give you like a brief overview without too much detail. So my moving out loan that I took was 3,000 euro, and I paid that off at about 24 years old, maybe 25, something like that. Then I had an overdraft added to my normal bank card in my mid-20s. And with no financial literacy, of course, that was kind of hard to manage that because I had to learn that that's not free money. Then in my late 20s, early 30s, I had a new loan that was about 4,000 euro, something like that. I got a computer, a few little bits that I needed. And I also opened a credit card at the time for work mostly. And then I started using that credit card, never really paying it off because, again, I had to learn that's not free money. That's money you need to give back. So I topped up my loan at some point, pay off the credit card, try to start from zero and just, freshen everything up, only think about the loan. But of course, that didn't really, really work. I paid that off in my mid-30s or something like that. And then I had a new loan that I started, and that time it was for top surgery. It was to pay off the credit card again, get a few little bits. That loan was 12,000 euro, and I was supposed to be paying that off by 2026. So as of now, it is August 2025 and I've paid it off. So I did that a little bit ahead of schedule and I'm very proud of that. But yeah, I'm finally debt free as of now. Throughout that whole time, in the back of my mind, in any financial matter, be it a new job, moving to a new flat, making a purchase, thinking about traveling, anything with money, of course, that financial burden was always in the back of my mind. I wanted to become debt free for quite a while. I'm gonna say maybe 2-3 years is when I really, really started to set my mind on becoming debt free. And that is because I wanted to buy a house. I wanted to have enough money to set aside for a mortgage. But my health was getting worse, and that is also over the same kind of time frame, the last 3-ish years. And then I finally got my diagnosis for FND this last January. With that diagnosis, I had the outlook that I have to stop working at some point if I want to get better, or at least not get worse. I realized if I want to stop working, I cannot be in debt because on disability pay, I would not be able to pay off the debt. With the whole cost of living crisis, low disability pay, no secondary income, anything like that, in January, I was giving myself 1 to 2 years tops before I would quit and go on disability. So of course, with the urgency of that time frame and my symptoms getting worse and worse over the last few months, I needed to make a change. Like, I needed to make a change so badly. Again, this is not financial advice. I just learned to manage my money and I'm 41, so take it with a grain of salt, but this is how it worked for me. So my main points or my main changes in habit were really cutting what I was consuming. No takeout, no ordering from Temu, Wish, Amazon, these services at all. I quit smoking cigarettes and I switched to vaping. I do still roll a few cigarettes once in a while, but really mainly it's the vapes because it's just cheaper in the long term. I wasn't spending any of the bonuses that I received at work. I was just keeping that in my bank account. I became absolutely hyper aware of everything that I was buying and always kind of second guessing myself. Do I actually need this, or is this a want, or and that really helped me. Budgeting really didn't work. I tried that as well. I tried, keeping receipts, budgeting apps, Excel sheets. Just doesn't work for me, any of that. So I didn't do that. No strict budgets, but like just being very aware of what I was doing with my money. So being a disabled trans man, of course, there are many, many challenges that I'm facing now, in the past, in the future. But honestly, getting that debt off my shoulder is such a relief. Without trying to sound kitschy, I finally can see a future. I feel more in control over my finances. It's such a load off my shoulder. I know at this point that if work gets too much, I can quit and I'll be reasonably okay. I won't be like perfectly fine. Of course, I don't have any other income, and going on disability, it'll put me back down into, survival mode, poverty mode. But at least I know I will survive. I won't have too much of an issue. I did for work, I increased that retirement plan payment scheme to 3%. It was first on 1, then on 2%. I increased it to 3% now, and I'm also increasing currently how much I pay into my savings account every month. I didn't make any other life changes so far. I'm still saving, I'm still not over consuming. So all of these changes that I implemented, they are still very much in effect. I'm also trying to plan ahead for when I go on disability. I know that I'm allowed to make a little bit of money on top of the disability pay, so I'm looking into some income avenues, maybe selling my craft, maybe growing my YouTube to a point where it makes me a little bit of money, things like that. I'm looking into it. I'm also no longer using my credit card. It's just a backup option, but I know I don't want to use it, and I think once I go on disability, I'll probably close it. I've learned a lot in the past 6 months, I must say. I think my main takeaway for this is really every cent that I spend is money that I spend, and it sounds like, yeah, sure, but that's what it is. Like, I'm not falling for any offers, for sales, for stuff like that, for aggressive advertisement or anything, because if I didn't need it 5 minutes before I knew that the sale was on, I don't need it now either. Every money I spend is money I spend, and I'm not going to spend it if I don't need to. So my tips for you are: reflect on your own spending, be honest with yourself, don't make any excuses, make lasting changes instead. Pinpoint what are the things that are unnecessary spending for you and cut those off. If you want to share your experience, feel free to leave them in the comments. Show other people that they're also not alone in this. If you have some great tips for paying off debt or saving money, do leave them in the comments. And of course, if you're interested in following my journey as a disabled trans man, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, share, all the good stuff. And I hope to see you very soon in the next video. Bye.